got umbrella.
Maxine, good morning.
Get this on. See the love.
That's right.
Just off to the side.
It's not my fault. I don't even want to be in here.
Listen, everybody standing here are the heroes.
Yes, sir.
The people who are standing up for their rights and their
Yes, sir.
freedoms are the heroes. They are Canadians when they stand up
Yes, sir.
and defend their rights.
That's right.
Heroes to everybody here.
Yeah, we're good. We're
Not
good.
just one or two, but
You're right.
you guys are the ones that are making the difference.
Thank you too, Ron.
We love you.
And it really is a pleasure to have Rocco Galati standing up here, and Maxine Bernier with me, and Budget. All here today, along with the true heroes in Canada, the true heroes in Ontario, you people. You're the ones who are going to make the difference in this province, and the way Ontario goes, you can be certain Canada will follow suit. So Ontario is key to what's going on in our country, and we have to make a stand here if we want to make a difference. I'm going to, before I pass it over to Maxine and Rocco, I do want to address a couple of things. First is what the purpose of us doing this today. This is not a protest. This is people gathering together, like-minded people gathering together to demonstrate their commitment to our Constitution, to the concept of rule of law, a representative democracy, and upholding our fundamental freedoms and responsibilities. Those fundamental freedoms and responsibility are ours. It's not theirs. It's not anybody else's. It's ours. And the people who sit in that legislature with me need to understand that their role is to protect our freedoms, our responsibilities, not their paychecks. Okay? Doug Ford and the Conservative caucus, unfortunately, because I used to sit in that caucus and I know many of them, introduced emergency orders, circumvented the authority of the Legislative Assembly, circumvented the responsibility of elected members, and is acting as an authoritarian in our province. Absolutely. And he's done this with no demonstrable merit or cause or purpose. Right? And I'll say this, I'll say it loudly and clearly for everybody to understand. We now know, unlike in March, we now have evidence, not just exaggerated projections, not just failed mathematical models. We have hard data and evidence. But we're acting as if we still don't know anything other than exaggerated projections and models. So here's a fact. More than 99% of the people are not at risk of COVID. That's a fact. And we know even that less than 1% who are at risk, 99% of them will recover or not have any symptoms at all. Our policies must be focused on those who are vulnerable, not the healthy, not the people who are not at risk, and we cannot harm the 99 in the process of protecting the one. Okay? These are not exclusive concepts. These are not ideas that we can only do one and not the other. We have and we can and we must do both. Freedom and protecting of the elderly and the vulnerable. I could go on at length. Because what we've done with the elderly and the vulnerable is nothing short of tragic and travesty. But the purpose we're here today, Doug Ford has used public opinion to silence and to remove our freedoms and responsibilities. He has not, and I have challenged him today to send out Toronto bylaw, send out the Toronto Police. I am the host, I am the organizer. I want them to exercise the unlawful laws that he has enacted. We can't debate it in the legislature because of Doug Ford. I want to argue it in the court of law. And I know he will lose.
And we will win.
Yes. And we, all of us, will win. He knows he will lose, and that's why he's not here today. That's why bylaw is not here today. They want you to be scared, they don't want you to test the law. They don't want to enforce the law. They just want you to be scared of the law. Doug Ford, we're not cowards like you are. We're not yahoos like you are. We know why we're here, and we're proud to be here. But if he doesn't come, if bylaw doesn't come, then we have something even more powerful. We have something more powerful. We can proudly, legitimately tell our friends, our neighbors, we can tell everybody, Doug Ford will not enact or will not enforce his own laws. He is scared of us instead of us being scared of him. So I'm going to, a lot of people have asked me this question of why. Why are we at where we are? And I'm going to say, well, that's not a question that can be answered fully yet. There's a lot of things that we still don't know about the why. But I'm going to retell a little story about when I first got elected in politics. I was previously an electrician. I was previously, well, a few things, as well as a dad and a husband, and still remain so today.
Good.
But, when I first got elected 14 years ago, I said to myself, I'm going to be down with the most thoughtful, the most competent, the most educated people in the province who are elected members of the legislature. I said to myself, I'm going to be engaged in the greatest debates. I'm going to be engaged in the greatest discussions. We will look at in deep insight into the matters of public policy. I was wrong. If I want to have a good conversation, a good discussion about public policy, I can do it around my kitchen table. A much better conversation than I'll ever get in there. I'll do it at the pub at Fiddleheads or any other pub, and that'll be a much deeper discussion than what I get there. Anywhere I go, there is going to be a much better discussion than what I see in there. And this was the epiphany for me. During caucuses, it came evident to me that elected members in that legislature looked at every policy not through the lens of, will it help my constituents? Not through the lens of, is this good for society? They looked at it through a singular lens of, will I get more votes or will I lose votes? Will I get more seats or will I lose seats? And it was astonishing to me that people who are elected to represent people, to protect their freedoms, had no understanding beyond their own re-election. That is a key element. There's more, but that is a key element of what we are seeing through COVID. It is being seen only through the lens of Doug Ford's re-election. Together, we can maybe put a little stick in the spokes on that one, and maybe we can get a premier and elected representatives in Ontario who actually want to serve and help and protect the freedoms of our constituents. I'm going to turn the microphone first over to Rocco, because Rocco's been a marvelous champion as well in the courts of law and in the courts of public opinion as well. This is a battle that needs to be fought in every court, on every grounds, social media, every media, elected, local, municipal, school boards, public health units. We all need to speak out. We all need to speak often. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to one of the greatest and loudest speakers that we've got.
Well, I may be loud, but I'm short. So I'm going to be brief this morning. The Constitutional Rights Centre stands shoulder to shoulder with Randy Hillier and is protecting the rule of law, the Constitution, and the democracy and democratic institutions. And we also stand shoulder to shoulder with any and everyone who does the same. What this government is doing is it's dispense with Parliament. It's acting on the royal pretense of royal prerogative, which happened in the 1680s, which led to the beheading of Charles I. Dispensing with Parliament and acting on the pretense of royal prerogative have been unconstitutional since 1688. He's buried the Constitution, he's buried democracy, and he has to answer to that, both at the polls and in the courts. Yes. All right. So I'll turn it back to Randy.
So you have a track record of being successful. Why do they keep characterizing you as just some arbitrary person with no actual foundation to your life?
Yeah, you want the truth? Okay. Okay. Then, despite my track record in winning cases that should never have been won, according to them, they always try to clown me because I'm a short immigrant wop. All right, and that's a fact. Because if I was a partner of one of the downtown legal firms, I'd be called, eminent counsel and this and that. They always try to dehumanize me because of my background. And what I got to say to them is always, go pound sand on a wet beach.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rocco. And it's been a pleasure getting to know Rocco through COVID, and it's been a pleasure to see people in the legal community standing up and recognizing what's going on and willing to put forth and take that abuse, take that mischaracterization. Because I see we have some media here. I'm not sure how many are here, but we've seen this in spades during COVID, is anybody who dissents from the narrative, anybody who has an alternative opinion, wants to talk about facts, they immediately go after not your facts, not your opinions, they go after you, the individual. That is become the hallmark of our mainstream media. But I'm welcome and I'm pleased to have another amigo here today. Somebody who also has witnessed and experienced the attack of the mainstream media, but somebody who also stands up to it and doesn't bend for it. And in our federal parliament, like we have in the legislature, all parties are working together with COVID. Nobody is actually opposing. And I'm going to say this, our system is based on this fundamental. To get good policy, we need to have somebody who advances a policy and others who oppose it, and there should be tension and there should be discussion and find that right balance. If there is no opposition, you cannot get good policy. There is a by-election coming up very shortly in York Centre and Toronto Centre. And we have two candidates running in those by-elections who will speak up, who will oppose, who will offer good, thoughtful, insightful discussion and debate on things. We are missing a voice for us in the federal parliament as well. And I'm pleased to endorse and support the candidacy of Baljet and Maxime Bernier for the PPC party. We need their voices.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. It's a nice day. It's a very nice day because for us, there's no new normal. I'm here with normal people fighting for our rights and our freedoms, and we are saying to the Trudeau government, to the provincial governments all across the country, that we want to be able to see our friends, to see our family without any lockdowns. We want to be able to reopen our businesses. We want our life back. We want our freedom back. And back to normal, yeah. And what happened right now in Ottawa and in Quebec and here in Toronto, we have politicians that are afraid of the truth. They don't want us to know what is COVID-19. We know that it's a virus, but the biggest virus right now is the socialism. That's the biggest virus. It's very, very, very important that our people all across the country understand that. We have the Trudeau government that is locking down our businesses and after that giving subsidies to businesses, but that's not what entrepreneurs want. What they want to be able to do business. They want to be able to be open. And we don't have that money. Who's paying for all these huge deficits? Right now, it's the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada is funding these huge deficits, but we will have to pay for that. At the end, printing money out of thin air will have a cost for everybody. That's called inflation. And inflation is a hidden tax, the worst of all taxes. And we have a lot of inflation right now when you go and buy your grocery, about 4%. That inflation will come because in Ottawa, in Quebec, in Toronto, they don't have the courage to tax you for all this spending. They're using the Bank of Canada, and at the end we will pay by this inflation that is coming. So we must stop all this spending and buying votes with money that we don't have. So let's stop that and be back to our normal life. That's what we want. And I encourage you to support us, to support the PPC, because we are fighting for our values, our freedom, our personal responsibility. We know that we are responsible people, and we want our government to look at us as responsible people. That's the most important. So if you want that for this by-election, if you are living in York Centre or Toronto Centre, Baljeet is our candidate in Toronto Centre here downtown. Just vote for your values.
But I'm going to end off with this, I think. You know, when we talk about our freedoms, and Max mentioned this, the flip side of freedoms are our responsibility. Okay? And we are responsible people. We are thoughtful people. We're compassionate people. Canadians are held in high regard worldwide, not because of our governments, but because of us, because of you and I and all of us. That's why we're held in high regard. We are responsible people. We're compassionate people. And we see this attack on our freedoms often comes through the back door of responsibilities, where they take away our responsibility for our own health. You know, and we've seen that this year pretty clear. You are not responsible for your health now. The state is responsible for your health. They take away our responsibility to care and love and express affection for our loved ones when they're sick and elderly and in a long-term care. That's our responsibility. That's not the state's responsibility. I need to have that freedom if I have my mother or father, or anybody has their mother or father, that they can tend to, or their spouse. You know, and we look through, you know, the education of our children. I've got grandchildren in school now. It is terrible to see what we're doing with our kids. That we're telling them that it's too dangerous to be beside or with their classmates and their friends, that they may infect them. They may infect their mom and dad, and we're terrorizing our children. And you know, this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. But they go after our freedoms by making us believe that government is more responsible than ourselves. I have faith, I have confidence, it will never waver, it will never shake, that here is where we find common sense, here is where we find responsibility. If you want to go somewhere where there's no common sense, that building right there. And Ottawa as well. If you want to find some place where there's no responsibility, that building right there. The responsibilities are found in our homes and in our families. But we know that Doug Ford, Justin Trudeau, and all parties are looking at COVID through the lens of re-election. They're looking at public opinion polls, etc. We have a job to do. And we can do it, and we will do it, because there is no losing this battle, in my view. We cannot and will not lose. We need to encourage our friends, our families, our neighbors, everyone, our workmates, to think about the consequences of what we're doing and take us back away from this dangerous path that we're on. Let's have thoughtful policies that protect our freedoms, restore our responsibilities, and maybe, just maybe, I might be asking a little too much, but make those people accountable for what they have done and the tragedy that they have caused. Let's work together and we will win. Thank you very much. Oh, and I should say one more thing. Oh, yes, we've got 4 amigos up here at least, for 4 musketeers. Well, there was a 4th musketeer, too. I'm going to say this one other thing, because it dawned on me with Max being here. You know, oftentimes we see the Quebecois and the English at odds. No, it's true. Like, it is true. But I view this I view this in this fashion. When I came from a family of 9 kids, and I had 5 brothers, and we often fought. Surprise, surprise. And you know, we fought often. But if there was any one of us that were ever under threat by somebody else, those brothers would all stand together. And nobody would beat us. And when the French and the English stand together, our history shows. When we all stand together, our history shows that we cannot lose. Thank you.
Watch the court.
Thank you, Rocco.